How is social media changing, and how can businesses adapt to remain relevant? We're speaking with Las Vegas social media influencer Josh De Zuzuarregui Siron to get his thoughts. I'm David Grana, and this is Real Talk. Josh, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it as well.
Well, you're a bit of a celebrity, so this is and this is a little bit different for us. We normally talk to economists, we talk to real estate professionals, but you seem to have captured if you will, the secret formula for promotion, and that's really why I want to talk to you. But you're also very prominent in Las Vegas and the Las Vegas market. I tend to think of you as like the Bruce Wayne of Las Vegas, and I will explain myself on that one. So you're an author, you run a website and a wonderful Instagram page that covers fashion, food, fitness, travel, and Las Vegas luxury. You can't blame me for calling you Bruce Wayne. Your website is fashionablyfit.vegas. We can follow you on Instagram. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking a part of this. I have to ask you, as a man of, let's call you an international man of mystery. How did you get, first of all, how did you get started on social media, and how did you sort of develop this brand that you have, if you will?
You know, it's quite a funny story. You know, I started, I always tell this story. I came up with Fashionably Fit in the back room of the supplement store I used to work in. So I remember during the time I was stuck in that store for like 50 hours a week, you know, so I just figured I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I want to do something more, you know, so I started to see, like, during the time, social media was huge in the fitness arena, you know, so I figured that there's so much, there's not a lot of value being provided, you know. During the time, I kind of felt like everything was the same, you know, and no one's really learning anything new, you know, and that's bad, you know, because if you stick to one thing, you can't just stick to one thing. There's so many other things, you know. So another thing that I find that, you know, like, people stick to one thing only, you know, but I started it during that time, you know, and I just figured, funny also, it didn't even start as a website at first. You know, I knew Fashionably Fit was the name, but I just didn't know what it would be, you know, and it just developed into it, you know, as I developed as a person.
And interestingly enough, in watching the progression of it, I mean, you're into podcasts now. You're invited to talk about all of these topics. You're also, I mean, listen, you put a lot of guys to shame. I just want you to know this. You also do MMA for fun. I mean, come on, you are secretly Bruce Wayne / Batman. I mean, I know that.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. You know, I just live my life and I do things I want to do, and, you know, and that's it. You know, I don't even think about results or what people think. I just do what I know will help me out as a person. You know, like the MMA stuff, that helps, like, in confidence, you know, in the confidence a person has. So, you know, when I talk to people and they ask for, like, advice and what they could do to be more confident, like, you just need to do what you want to do, like what you're scared of, because that will give you confidence, you know. And or you conquer small things, you know, small things, and then you go for the bigger things.
Now, being a social media influencer, because ultimately that really is, I mean, I think that's what I could call you. The other thing is, I mean, we don't really have socialites, I don't think, here in Vegas. I mean, that's very much a New York or a London thing, but you're pretty much as close to socialite as I could consider. But in your experience with social media, we've obviously seen a lot of changes. How has the efficacy of social media, the various different platforms, how is it changing as it relates to attracting followers, business contacts, etc.? How have you seen that evolve?
I do think it's only like recently within the last year, because nowadays, because of, the situation, everything is geared more towards the internet now. It was already going towards the internet, but double now because of what's going on. So I do see that it's developing, and I do see that I think the development of other, platforms and all that will come along as the time progresses, because it's just like online dating before, during the 2017, 18, it was very new, but they needed to figure out so many different laws for it and all that stuff, so I do predict that over the course of time, there will be many platforms, but it's hard to say what the platform will be and what direction it will be, because it will go with the times. But I do know that regulation will be much higher in social media, because I've already seen that happening. It's much more difficult to get things out there. Sponsored content, there's so many different sponsored contents now. So I do see a lot more developments coming along. In the business sense, I do think a lot of people they're not providing a lot of that thing, because they don't really realize how impactful or how much people you reach through social media for a business. For me, when I first started, I started when not a lot of people were doing it, but I reached so many, key people that helped me out for what I want to do just through social media, and a lot of people they focus on the wrong things. Like, they focus on how many likes you have. No, it doesn't matter how many likes you have. What matters most is that you are seen and you are remembered. That's it.
So are you saying that there's that businesses are still evolving and trying to develop what they actually want to deliver on these platforms?
Yes. Let's say, for example, I see a lot of restaurants now, sponsoring their content, which is great. But, if you were going to sponsor something like your restaurant, what I would do, let's say, if I own a restaurant and I'm the chef, I would promote things like that. Get to know the chef, get to know the restaurant. You don't just post something like a picture, here's a food, and this is a restaurant. No, you get like make it entertaining, like show the restaurant, show the staff, or you talk about things, it has to be valuable and fun, entertaining, because the internet is also entertaining. It's entertaining.
And informational, I presume, as well. So like walking away from, let's say, a podcast or a post or whatever, having learned something, is that something critical to people?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's the most important thing nowadays, because social media is different now. Like before, in 2013, 14, 15, it was still like in its infancy in a way. So it was much easier to brand. Like back then they had so many fit, because back then I was into the fitness stuff. Back then there were so many fitness brands. You can't and it was a lot easy. It was very easy to get known because it was smaller.
There seems to be a little bit of disengagement, I've noticed, and I don't know if this is a COVID related thing. So I recently chatted with someone a local magician here, who is very big on social media. In fact, he's got a YouTube platinum, I don't know, they give you a platinum plaque if you reach 1 million subscribers. Yeah. He did mention that some people, I think COVID has kind of affected people's engagement. Would you agree that some people are a little bit sort of done with the usual information that you see on social media because of COVID, and sort of the fact that people kind of binged on it during lockdowns, etc.?
Yes, there's merit to that. But, for me, I always say this. I believe that social media now is like the TV, because, even ask anyone, you check Instagram, Facebook numerous times a day, and you don't even know why you're checking it. You don't know, you're not checking it for anything specific. You're just checking it. It's like a TV. You just check it, for how many, I guarantee you, if you ask someone, count how many times you check social media a day. It's going to be probably over 20 or 10, depending also on the age. But everybody checks it. My grandmother, who has no, she checks it. Like it doesn't matter even the age. Everybody checks it from 13 all the way to 68. So I always tell them, that's where you advertise your business, yourself, because we live in an age also where you could brand yourself.
So for companies out there, or even individuals out there, and mind you, I'm in the real estate world. I mean, the individual is the business, the individual is the company. What's some of your key advice out there for people that are interested in getting engagement and to your point, not just followers, but people that are actually going to be that are going to be receptive, community, if you will, community building.
Yes,
What do they need to do? How do they achieve that?
So I call that. So I like to call that the difference between an audience and a genuine audience. So everyone needs a genuine audience, because a genuine audience, they're there because they love what you say, they value what you say, they want to see and hear what you have to say. A normal follower is like the ones that you just half naked pictures. There's no value, there's no nothing. So I think the best way to do that is, of course, I always talk about this, but you have to be real, and you have to be whatever business you're in. You just have to be relatable. You can't be a character. You just have to be relatable, add value. A lot of people are missing so much critical information, especially in business today. Like, there are so many opportunities to make money just through your phone. Like, again, the internet things they're developing. A good example of this, a good recent example of this could be Robinhood. I use Robinhood, and they're going through a lot of things, but I think that's also because you learn throughout the internet, because the internet ages. There's so many different possibilities. It's not super regulated, which it will be, so I just believe that you just need to be creative, be real, and add a lot of value, and be entertaining, because nobody wants to feel like they're in a classroom. You make it fun, you make it light. Like, it's really it's a chance for an individual to be creative, and I find that the most important thing.
Let's talk a little bit about regulation.
Yeah.
You've mentioned that a few times, that word. We have heard it certainly in the run-up to the election, Section 230. I know I don't even know the full details of it, but Section 230 being one of them. Do you believe that regulation will possibly change the type of content that we as individuals and businesses will be allowed to put online, and how do you think that might affect us?
There'll definitely be a lot more regulations. I see it nowadays, and I don't think in a business sense it would. The only prediction I have, it could be, I don't know it will happen or not, but I do feel that there is going to be some type of tax in the internet or social media pretty soon. I do believe that, because there's so many individuals making a lot of money, the US, it's capitalism, it's all about the money. So I do find that it will affect. It's just hard to gauge in what way, because right now they're starting to do it little by little. It's a bit more challenging to get sponsored things out there, so it would probably change in the way that I don't think for business. I do think like the crappy stuff will be gone.
Well, who will determine though what the crappy stuff? I mean, how will that be? Who's the arbiter of that, of what's crappy, what's not? I mean, what's crappy to me may not be crappy to you. So how do you think that might play out?
I think that's a good question. That would probably have to go or through like the Facebook and all that stuff. I don't know how it would be. Who knows? Because it could also, maybe there might even be a new social media that comes out that's specifically for real estate or specifically for business. I mean, that would be a fantastic idea, because there's a lot of realtors. But let's say, for example, they're not using social media to their advantage. Like if you're selling a house, you should make it entertaining and show the house. Make it like a show. That's $1 million idea right there. You're showcasing the house, you're showcasing yourself, and you're showcasing your business all in one, and it's entertaining. And it's on Instagram, and you put it out there, you sponsor it. There are so many people that will see that. Like I sponsor a lot of content, and I know how many people see it, and it's always thousands and thousands.
So a bit like an HGTV, but on a social media platform, as opposed to having to be on a cable network or anything like that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How do you think? Businesses are going to need to pivot in order to be more effective nowadays? Now, obviously, you mentioned entertainment is a big thing, but I mean, I think one of the things that we've seen is that the clicks and the likes don't equate to money. And that's the big thing. I mean, that's a big reason for promoting oneself or one's business on there. What do you think it's going to take for people to be able to gain new customers, new clients? What changes do they need to undertake?
Well, they would need to. I do believe there's a lack of knowledge in social media and how to use it effectively and advertising, all that. So I would believe that's number one, because you can't really fully take advantage of something if you don't really understand it, if you don't really know, what it's about. Because, a lot of people, especially the older ones that say around 40, 30, whatever, they don't see the potential that they could get so many customers from social media. No joke. Like if you were to just sponsor something, you would be amazed at how much, reactions you get. Even if it's a bad reaction, you get a reaction. That's what you're looking for.
So if there's no such thing as bad press or bad coverage.
I don't believe so. I mean, because I've been doing it for quite some time, and I've gotten the opportunities I've gotten just through social media, just through the sponsoring and also the value, and being creative, being entertaining, and branding yourself. Those are the key elements. You need to brand yourself effectively. You need to, in a way, like you said, you're like the Bruce Wayne of Vegas, right? But that's what you want. You want people to see you or see your Instagram, your web page, and get an idea of everything, and they kind of just know who you are right away. That's really good.
And is that a way of sort of building trust, if you will, with a potential client, that who's going to be looking at this?
Yes, because for me, I've always said Instagram is like a business card. I've always treated it like that. So if you look at my Instagram, you kind of know all I'm about. Like you see all the things. It kind of, you no longer have to introduce yourself in a way. So that's what you're looking for, because I know people know me. I don't know them, but they trust me. They ask for my opinion. They want to hear what I have to say professionally or about life or whatever. And I don't even know who they are, but they know who I am because everything's there,
Now let's talk about the different platforms. I mean, Instagram. Would you estimate that? Would you guesstimate that that's really the most effective one out there? Because we've seen, I mean, algorithms on Facebook, I don't know. I've seen like they've really changed. Even LinkedIn to a certain degree. I mean, it is still effective for business, but I don't know. But is Instagram really the platform? What are your thoughts on that?
I would believe so, because I've done everything through Instagram. I use Facebook more for just a personal thing for my close friends out of the country and all that. But I find Instagram really is the way to go, because there's billions of people on there. And what you need to do, I'm going to give you a very key thing here for social media, is you have to limit your markets. Let's say for me, I only advertise and sponsor my things in Vegas. Mm-hmm. Like you said, that's why a lot of people in Vegas, see who I am, or they see my stuff, because I just advertise in Vegas. A lot of people, they advertise like, it's so big, the pond, if you will, is so big, so it will, if it's so big and your message and you put it out there, it's not likely to get seen unless it's incredibly good. But if you just choose Vegas, it's going to be seen, so that's just how it is. You make it small. Let's say real estate. Focus on real estate.
So make it niche, not just regionally, but also in your market and whom you want to attract.
Yes, you have to. Let's say when you sponsor content, there's a little subtext there that says I'm interest. Like you need to put the time in that and put the interest there. Because that is also the key that to be. It's gonna dictate where your sponsor content goes, so, and you choose, you can't just choose, let's say, you have to be very specific with it, and it takes a little time. That's why, it's important to know these things. A lot of people don't even know that.
Is it good or do you recommend it? Sponsoring content, even if you're not trying to sell something, even if you just want to get people to know who you are. And by that, I mean, I don't just mean putting your business card up on an Instagram post, but is it good to just sponsor, I don't know, a photo of you in front of a building? Let's say I'm, just so for identification purposes, people say, here's a commercial real estate agent, or, this person does this, just to be able to get it out there. Do you recommend sponsoring content like that just for the sake of just getting people to know you and see you, as opposed to just trying to attract someone for a particular purpose?
I'm not opposed to just sponsoring other, because it also gives the chance of an opportunity to come your way. You know what I mean? Like the beauty, what I find about social media and all that stuff, it's just like being in Vegas. It's the roll of the dice. You may win, you may not, but the point is you get out there, you put yourself out there. Who knows? What if you get discovered by a Hollywood agent? Who knows? But so fine, you'll sponsor your thing out there. But if you sponsor something with no goal, I mean, what's going to happen? When you sponsor something, there needs to be, at least a direction. You don't want to be directionless, because you will end up absolutely nowhere.
So have a purpose. Again, it seems to me like the message you're delivering is very much about precision. Don't just throw anything out there, but be very precise. Your region, what you're marketing, have an end goal in mind.
Yes, and also you need to be very creative, because you have to remember there are so many other things on social media. So you need to come up with something that how I see it too is that what would make you click on a sponsored ad? What would make you interested? Is it that's why I look it's not very interesting, but what would make you look? What would make you click? What would make you what would interest you? Like for me, what I use, it's the filter I use for my videos, or there's a specific style to my video. So even when I release it, people are really, oh, that's his video. That's what you need, because you're putting it out there with so much other stuff. It's like you want to be the white bean in a bag full of blue beans, something like that. You want to be like that. Oh, there's the white one. That's a good one. I want to keep this one. I'm going to keep an eye on that one.
So almost brand recognition. I mean, and I'll say this: when I look at your posts, I do notice the filters as well. But I immediately go, okay, that's Josh right there. So it's almost like the Nike swoosh, if you will. I mean, I can't think of anyone around the world that has no idea what the Nike swoosh is. Yeah, it's a global brand. So basically, it is about creating that definable, recognizable brand that people will immediately say, oh, that's his post, or that's her post.
Right. That's exactly it. Because nowadays also the attention span, like when I tell people, when you spawn, like a good advice, a little free advice here, when you put like your IGTV or your sponsored stuff, I wouldn't make it 1 hour long. I wouldn't even make it 30 minutes long. No one's gonna fucking watch that for 30. Just you have 10 seconds maximum to get their attention. Mm-hmm. That's it. 10 seconds, maybe even 5. That's why it's very important to have that impact when they see your videos or your sponsored content. They need to see, like for me, I'm not really for it, but the ones that get a lot of attention for my sponsored ads is the one I'm just doing entertainment stuff purposes, like just dancing around, but it gets them to my profile and they see who I am. So that's the kind of things you have to study.
Is this why something like Twitter, for example, isn't really as effective, because people don't want to go through reading, and I don't even know how many characters it is, 100 or 200 characters, whatever the amount is. Is it because people want to have that immediate reaction and want to be able to have their senses sort of stimulated from the get-go?
Absolutely. I think also that's why I see Instagram like a new age book. That's why I'm writing my book there, because it's the visual aspect of things is huge, very, very huge. It's the visual that gets your attention, and it's the words that will keep them. You know, so let's say if it's something entertaining, you'll watch it, and then the descriptions or like what you put there is also very, very important. Even the way you format it, because if you don't, let's say for example, there are a lot of people that they post like so long and there's no spacing, there's no paragraph. It will make the person say, oh, I don't want to read this anymore. That's what you don't want. You want the person to stay there and read it. And sometimes he'll be like, I don't even know why I'm watching this or reading it, but I know it's so entertaining and so good, I watched the whole thing. That's what you're looking for.
So you want word economization, but you also want to, if you will, economize whatever you're posting, whether the picture or the message. It has to be economized so that it can create an immediate stimulation or an immediate reaction.
Right. That's what you're looking for. You want them to react and remember, and the best way to do that is to be relatable, to have people relate to you in whatever way that may be. Like for me, I'm relatable in a way because I share my life struggles, or I share, like the psychological issues I had when I was younger, and all those things. I share those things, and people learn from that, or they relate to it. That's how you get your genuine audience as well.
So, I've heard that a lot in a lot of discussions. Authenticity is so important. Don't try and be someone you're not. I was recently on a panel and I said, well, you'll probably never catch me like videoing myself on a skateboard. First of all, I don't know how to skateboard, but it's just not my thing. I'm the nerdy economist guy. So that probably will be something that people will relate to more on that level. I want to shift a little bit, talk about platforms, because you're very big on Instagram. This is going on YouTube. Thoughts on YouTube as a medium, and just for full disclosure here, I mean, I really watch a lot of things on YouTube. It could be documentaries, whatever it may be.
Right.
What do you think about YouTube? And it is a little bit of a longer platform. You've got to take time to kind of get into some of these videos. What do you think about its effectiveness?
YouTube is absolutely effective. I mean, throughout the years, you can see how many successful, entrepreneurs or successful entertainment people have come out of it. However, as you know, nowadays, when the current situation we're in, you have already seen like things like YouTube. Like I follow a lot of people who have the successful websites, successful YouTube channels, and I'm telling them, and they're telling me the same thing. You need to start making your own website, because YouTube, maybe even Facebook, even Instagram, maybe might be completely, it might just change tomorrow. It might even, it's just so unpredictable how, through the internet stuff, because no one really knows, like, let's say the hacking is a huge thing over the internet, and it's not being able to be fully regulated. I've been hacked, so there's a lot of opportunity, but there's also a lot of risks. So I think having a YouTube is fantastic, but I do think having your own website is where you're gonna, be the most successful, because you don't own those. The YouTube. It's on YouTube. What happens if YouTube disappears tomorrow? You don't have your channel anymore, but you have your website. And your website is something you own. That's why, I advertise my website, fashionablyfit.vegas, because if YouTube disappears or whatever, I still have my website.
And by the way, we'll be advertising that website as well. Please make sure to check it out, so you can follow Josh, and please make sure to follow Josh on Instagram. That's a big discussion, by the way. Going back to that point, it's a huge discussion right now. It's coming up on two levels. One, of course, is the hacking, which you mentioned is critical, and we're hearing a lot more about hacking these days. The other one is censorship. I mean, I don't know what's considered censorable material, what's not, but
right.
You don't really want to be at the helm of someone else controlling it.
Yeah.
The one thing about these platforms is they're economic. You don't necessarily need to spend a lot of money to have, or any money for that matter, to have a YouTube account or any account or Instagram account, etc. How can you create your own site and put your videos and all that in an economical fashion, and still be effective?
I would say Yeah, that's a tricky one. If the big platforms were to disappear, hmm, I think you would have to do it in person by then. You would have to market yourself in person, right? Like what I do, like I have my card, my business card. It has it's just my website, and in the back, it has all the other information. But that's how if YouTube and stuff were to disappear, that's how I would promote my site, by just doing it the old-fashioned way. That's also, I think, a lot of people kind of forget of the they're so reliant on how much there's so much more technology. Everything is so easy that if it were to disappear, it's like you would not know what to do anymore. And I find that that's a little bit, that's bad, especially for business, because business, it's the classic things that actually make you successful, you know.
So in a way, would you say that these are great tools? However, don't forget the human touch,
Yes.
the face to face, the
Yeah.
phone calls.
Right.
So make sure that you keep that in your arsenal of business tools. Is that is it fair to say
Absolutely.
that?
Absolutely. To be an effective business person, you need to also walk like it, talk like it, and you can't do that if you're not really out there. Like a lot of people can't even have a conversation with someone, they're too shy or they don't know what to say. But if you're in business, you need to be able to do that. You need to be able to interact with every person, everyone, it doesn't matter who they are, how high they are. You need to be able to just be relatable, and you need to be the businessman, just you need to be out there doing what would bring you to the dance. A lot of people, they forget about that. And it's a very, very key point and element in being a successful businessman, is getting out there and people know you.
So if I could glean some key elements here social media is great. Don't forget the traditional methods of being a business person, of getting out there and doing the face to face. Don't necessarily rely on the platforms because they could be gone tomorrow. So website is a very, very important tool.
Yes.
But while we have access to these platforms, not to say they're going to disappear, also make sure that you create a reliable message, an authentic message, and make sure you brand yourself in a way that people will almost automatically recognize, oh, that's Josh's post, or that's David's post.
Right. Because just come up with something different, that will definitely stand out. I'm helping someone now who she's in finance, and she wants to do something on social media in regards to finance. And I told her that's amazing, because I don't know anyone who does that, so that could be your thing. That's an example,
Well, I really want to thank you so much for giving us all this useful information. I love following you on Instagram, and I will continue to do so. And often wonder if you dress up like a bat at night and and stalk the streets of Las Vegas. I hope that our viewers get an opportunity to go to your website, fashionablyfit.vegas. I will make sure that I include it in the description to this video. And I want to thank you so much for your time. This has been really insightful and very informative.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much. My pleasure being here. Thank you for the invitation as well.